So I want to welcome everyone to our fifth Oakbrook Business Network meeting of 2021. I'm very excited this morning to welcome all of you and our special guest speaker this morning, Michael Ublaski. My name is Michelle Sherritt, and I'm the owner of the Oakbrook Business Network. I'm joined this morning by Rhonda Seelinger, who is our marketing director. Good morning, Rhonda. Before we begin this morning, I'd like to cover just a few brief housekeeping items and tell you a little bit more about our networking groups. We're comprised of 5 powerful networking groups. We have the Oakbrook Business Network, the Naperville, the Northwest, Windy City, and the North Shore. We trademarked these group names 2 years ago, and we started the groups in 2008 on LinkedIn. So it's very fitting for our talk today with Michael. The groups grew to be the largest networking groups for these areas online. And we decided about 2 years ago to take some of the groups live. We now have over 332 paid members who pay memberships each year. And our membership, if you'd like to learn more about that, is on our website at oakbrookbiz.net. Our membership is open to everyone. You just have to be a business owner, and we, of course, verify that. Membership includes all of our monthly meetings. When we were meeting in person before COVID, we would have breakfast included with those meetings. We also had happy hour events and sit-down dinners and a lot of in-person events that we will start back up this summer as the situation that we're in right now allows for us to do so. So those new events will be announced on our website. Our membership also included a lot of advertising opportunities, still does, online, on our podcast, on our blogs, and on our social media pages. So to learn more, just visit our website and apply. Today's talk, we ask that you keep yourself muted unless our speaker asks you to unmute. Then you may do so at that time, or you can simply type your questions in the chat box if you're on Zoom. If you're on Facebook, we are going to monitor very closely because we have a lot more people on Facebook in our 5 groups this morning. So Rhonda and I will be monitoring those for our speaker today. Just write your questions in the comment section. Our speaker today is Michael Ublaski, as I said. Michael has spent 30 plus years in direct sales and marketing. He uses content marketing and social media exclusively to gain organic leads. And he's going to speak with us today about how to use LinkedIn for small B2B marketing. Welcome, Michael. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to stop my video so you can watch my program, which we're going to be talking about LinkedIn for Business today. I want to give you a little background. I got forced into sales in 1979 because I left my profession. I tried out for entrepreneurship for a while and didn't work for me. And I was not a salesperson. I really had no idea what I was doing, and I started reading a lot of books. And the one thing I found was I couldn't master the cold call. And in that day and age, that's what it was. It was either knocking on doors or it was picking up the phone. I hated it. By 1981, I was broke, and I took the first job that was offered to me at about 1/3 of what I had been earning prior to that. Plus, I had the opportunity to get some commissions on the deal. But I quickly realized that I was no Steve Jobs. It took me to 1982 to realize I was a geek, and technical know-how and applications was really my forte, rather than selling people using a lot of flowery words, so as to say. I had seen how that worked, selling electronic security systems, but it just wasn't for me. I also realized there was a lot of competition out there, and I knew I had to increase the odds of closing sales so that I could get a competitive edge. I developed what it was called my 4 R's when I realized that Number one, I had to build a reputation. And again, that reputation was based on applied technical skills, meeting my clients' needs with what the features and benefits of my equipment and my service would provide. Number two, I had to build relationships. One and dones were not part of that. I needed people to believe in me and to, again, develop relationships, because I figured out that if I had a good relationship with somebody, hey, somebody would give me a referral. Oh, or somebody else might make a recommendation. So I used this know-how to get in with prime sources that would either give me referrals or recommendations based on our relationship, which was ultimately or primarily based on my reputation as to knowing what I was doing. In 2006, I was preparing to, I'm not going to say retire, but to move away from the corporate life, which I had gotten kind of used to and tired of. And I found online marketing and I loved it. And I spent tons of hours learning how to market on the internet, launching websites, doing content marketing, using different platforms like Facebook, like YouTube, Twitter. And then in 2008, I found LinkedIn. Didn't like it, migrated off of it because of the fact that it really wasn't doing what I was trying to do on there. And at that point in time was primarily for job seekers. 2009, I went back to LinkedIn and I saw that it had migrated and opened up doors as far as marketing of businesses and opening up networking opportunities. And I fell in love with it. And I have been teaching LinkedIn since 2009, either one-to-one or webinars or programs or libraries or for businesses. And I also have taught as a volunteer for SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. And I've also taught job seekers how to use LinkedIn to find jobs. I volunteered at a number of non-for-profit organizations, Catholic Charities, career placement, other career organizations in Schaumburg, in Barrington, that dealt with executives looking for work on LinkedIn during the rough times, during the recessionary times. When COVID struck, I saw what was happening to businesses, and a lot of businesses closing, and a lot of people needing to pivot. And I saw people out of work. And I saw and had been using Zoom for a while and decided to try to get back on to help people understand LinkedIn again. One question: what is the main reason to take LinkedIn seriously if you're active in the business world? Rhonda, do we have anybody who wants to venture an answer to this question?
No, but we do have a different question. Hey, Michael, while I have you in a pause here, I'm not seeing your PowerPoint. I don't know if we're in the screen share mode or if maybe you don't have a PowerPoint for this part of the presentation.
I am in the screen share mode and I'm seeing the PowerPoint.
Oh, I just see your name. I think it's because maybe you turned off your video.
Oh, if that's the case, I'm going to turn it back on if that's the problem. I'm sorry. Is everybody else having that problem?
I know Michelle is. Yeah, they're shaking their heads.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You should have pointed that out to me. What do you want me to do? You want me to go back and just go over these slides, or do you want me to?
I would start with do you have your question on a slide that you posed to the group just now?
I'm so sorry about that.
I wouldn't backtrack, but I think we can pick it up where we were. It's just a matter of, let's get your PowerPoint up there.
Okay. Anybody want to answer this? Have any answers for this? Or what is the main reason to take LinkedIn seriously?
I have more of a comment than an answer to the question. Someone from Facebook Live is saying, I feel like I get bombarded with spammy invites through LinkedIn. And is there a way to stop this? I'm really thinking about leaving LinkedIn altogether unless you convince me otherwise this morning. So
I would not leave LinkedIn unless realize what the advantages are. And I understand what spamming is all about. And LinkedIn has just started moderating some of that because we've been complaining about that for a long time. And I think just like email and your telephone and your cell phone, what I try to do is I just try to overlook those spammers for the benefits. And you have to weigh the risk reward benefit of benefits versus the benefit of advantages versus disadvantages. And I think that the advantages far outweigh the disadvantages. And I just have to put up with that. And there's certain things that I have done to overcome that. And if I see that coming and I can generally see a curveball a mile away on LinkedIn, I just avoid it. I really just avoid it. But the one thing I want to say is that LinkedIn is starting to take steps. I think it's long overdue, but I think it's starting to take steps to start putting some of these spammers and scammers out of there and the automated marketers. I think that's one of the biggest problems.
Michael, I'm still not seeing a PowerPoint. I'm seeing a black screen, so I'm not sure if there's anything we can do.
I wanted to close that down for a second. Do you see
gotcha.
that? Do you see that right now?
I see you now.
You don't see share screen?
Nope, I see you.
Oh, let's try it again.
There's anything you can.
Anything you could suggest? What about now?
Okay, now it says you start. There we go. There we are.
All right. So
And
we've had
presentation mode now.
we've had some difficulties, but I think we're on are we on our way right now? Oh my God.
Thank you.
We had some problems with Zoom last week also, and I'm sorry, I've gone off track here. I had to work with my wife for about an hour and a half fixing it, and we had to uninstall and reinstall. So I want to keep going. So the answer to that question is Google search results. The big reason to stay on LinkedIn, the reason that LinkedIn is so important is because no matter what you do, if somebody checks you out, that LinkedIn profile is going to come up as #1 or somewhere in the top 10. Okay. I've been marketing on the internet for 14 years. And there's nothing I can do about kicking LinkedIn off that top response. It will always come up because it's a highly rated and one of the top tier sites. And because of that rating, I'm not going to be able to do anything but kick LinkedIn off as that number one result. And so people are going to go to that and they're going to look at my profile. And that's the reason that I have to do it. But what you have to realize is LinkedIn is nothing more than a database. And it's a tool for you to use. The reason I love it so much is in a typical networking event, I've got to go around and I've got to qualify people as to whether they're the right type of people that I want to talk to. I don't have to do that on LinkedIn. I just go to their profile and I determine whether they're qualified or whether they're unqualified as far as a prospect, as far as I'm concerned. And I know one thing, after being on LinkedIn since 2008, it's not going away. People at the beginning talked about it. It's a fad. Something is going to overtake it. Well, guess what? We're still talking about that 15 years later, and there's other things that are trying to compete with LinkedIn. It's just not going to go away. But I also realize LinkedIn's not a selling platform. It's a networking platform. So again, Rhonda, I'll ask you any questions out there. I know we've had some technical difficulties. I apologize for that. I'm getting head shakes, so I know that there's nothing. Okay, so how do I apply my 4 R's to LinkedIn? All right, how did that translate? Because I was a Google guy, I was a content marketer, I was an organic search guy, and I went to LinkedIn and I said, how does this apply? Reputation. My definition of reputation is brand. Very simple. And how do you establish your brand? It's through words, it's through visuals, it's through proof statements on LinkedIn. But why build relationships? Relationships, it's not who you know, it's who your connections know. And this has been proven time and time again. As far as I'm concerned, even in job search, I looked at how many jobs I have had over my career and realized that at least half of them came as a result of somebody I knew, that when I was talking about looking for work or talking about moving or talking about a change, they introduced me to somebody who later on became a supervisor, led me to employment in that company. It's through these clients and friends that you get referrals and recommendations. That started my career in sales. And it woke me up. It dawned on me what was happening. And your best clients and friends can give you introductions, whether you ask for it or not. Sometimes they just come to you, and sometimes you have to ask for that introduction. I know what doesn't work on LinkedIn, and that's shotgunning. I know what does work on LinkedIn, and that's target marketing. So what I'm going to do today is give you a checklist. I'm going to speed through it because when you're dealing in a webinar type situation or in a mass marketing situation, or even if I'm at a library or talking to a group of 40 or 50 people for a business, or when I was doing SCORE presentations for Wintrust, I did a lot of presentations for Wintrust Financial. It's difficult for me to gauge whether I'm hitting the nail on the head with the hammer or not. The one thing I can do is I'm going to promise you at least one aha moment for you to take away from this. And that's all I was looking for when I used to go to webinars or when I do presentations, even to this day and age. If I could walk away with one thing I didn't realize or one takeaway, that it was worth my time. So these are the topics I'm going to try to cover today. Your purpose, goal, and objective, principles of search, which are very important, importance of keywords, branding, target marketing, starting a conversation, getting notice, and establishing a benchmark. So I think you've got to ask yourself what's your purpose or goal or objective on LinkedIn. And some of us are passive, some of us are active, and some of us have no idea what we're doing on LinkedIn because somebody turned us on to it. So if you're in LinkedIn, you've got to ask yourself, why am I on LinkedIn? I think the best answer to that is grow your business. And if you understand that it's a capable tool of doing that, then it's really a good tool. Who's my competition? You better know who you're competing against on LinkedIn. Because if you don't, you're going to get left in their dust. I had to reinvent myself 3 times on LinkedIn before I found my niche. When I started on LinkedIn, I thought I was a content marketer and a Google guru, and there was too much competition. I switched to being a WordPress administrator and partial developer. There was too much competition for that. However, when I figured out that you could combine these things, combine content marketing, combine search into leveraging LinkedIn, and I became a LinkedIn expert at that time. I found my niche, and it was a good ride. I loved it, and I loved helping people either enhance their business or find jobs on LinkedIn. Next question is, what's my competitive advantage? Because just like in business, if you don't know what you can do better than your competitors, what you can bring to the table, you're not going to be able to sell anybody anything. Who's my target market? Again, shotgunning is not the clue to LinkedIn. Target marketing is the clue. And you can target anybody, whether you're B2B or whether you're B2C, you can target people that will help you grow your business on LinkedIn. What's my plan after I find them? Hey, what are you going to do? You're going to wait for them to come to you? You're going to call them? You're going to try to contact them? What are you going to say? What's your follow-up going to be? How are you going to start a conversation? This is part of the planning process and using LinkedIn as the tool. I'll kick it to you, Rhonda. Any questions on this?
Nope, I think we're good.
I think we're good too. So everybody's absorbing this. You're gonna be ready for a quiz later. Absolutely. I'm taking a class at University of Pennsylvania, and I got waylaid yesterday. They threw a quiz at me, which I was totally unprepared for. And you had to score 70% to advance on the quiz. And I barely made it by scoring an 8 out of 10 because I misread a question. So get ready for the quiz. All right. We've got to talk about principles of search because I said initially that LinkedIn is a search engine. All right. And we've got to understand how search engines work in order to really leverage LinkedIn. LinkedIn originally was made for recruiters. It was built for executive headhunters, for human resource departments to find people to fill jobs. And I have been very, very fortunate in my course on LinkedIn to have a couple of clients who are executive recruiters. One client I've had for over 5 years who is in a highly technical area, and he's really taught me, and I've learned from him a lot of the techniques that they use in seeking out candidates. And that are the same techniques that I teach people on how to build their businesses or how to look for work on LinkedIn. It's just amazing that the Google search aspect of using those skills work on LinkedIn for not only executive job recruiters, but also for businesses trying to grow themselves, because it's a two-way street. They give us those same tools that they give to those recruiters that are spending tens of thousands of dollars for advanced tools and knowledge and schooling on LinkedIn. We have this search tool, which allows us to not only be found on LinkedIn, but also to find a target on LinkedIn. And search results are partially based on the third topic that I want to talk about, and that is keywords. And keywords definition is they're important if they're matched in a query. In other words, if I put certain keywords in a query, one of the ways that either Google brings back results in that query or LinkedIn brings back results in that query is through what we call a match. It's not the only criteria, because then we have algorithms that come into play, and we have to understand how those algorithms work to give us the search engine results, whether it's on LinkedIn or whether it's on Google. Google's a lot more complex than LinkedIn is. LinkedIn, through deductive reasoning and through looking at other experts in the field, there are key fields in LinkedIn where you have to include your keywords in order to be found in a search. So the right keywords help you get found by someone looking for what you do. Your reputation or branding starts, and getting found on LinkedIn starts with your profile highlight box. That's my profile highlight box. If you jot down my name and Google it or go to LinkedIn, I'm the only Yablowski that's a male on LinkedIn. My wife and my daughter are also on LinkedIn, but you can take a look at my profile and you can take a look at my profile highlight box. We were looking for volunteers today for me to take a glance at their profile while being gentle, so as to say. And one of the volunteers, and what I'm going to get into, there's a pass out, is going to be handled on a pass out that people who've attended this program, I understand, are going to be getting it when the notification as to this recording is sent out. So you can jot down notes, but you will get the entire pass out. Rhonda volunteered, and I took her up on this, even though I twisted her arm to do so. And I want to talk a little bit about her profile. And again, I promise to be gentle with her. But if you go to LinkedIn, this is Rhonda's profile, because I also said to her, don't touch it until I'm finished with this presentation. All right. Top items on a LinkedIn profile that I look for. Current photo, is it professional? Is that person dressed ready to work? My answer is, yeah, she's dressed ready to work. Yes. Is it professional? Is it a great photo? No. Unfortunately, all it takes is a little photoshopping to bring out the highlights in her hair, to take the shadows away from her face, and to actually see the color of her eyes. 2, what about her background image? She's using the default. Why? Come on, Rhonda.
Hey, now, you said you were going to take it easy on me.
This is, Rhonda, this is being easy on you. But look at what this does. Look at what a little sprucing up and a little background image and dropping in your logo does for you. Okay, it sends a message out there. It's a visual. It sends something, but it's also muted. All right, what I did was I put a filter on there so that your face is the brightest. So people are going to focus on your face, but they're also going to look at the other. So I want them to look at you first, but then focus on what you do as an invitation. Hey, you're in a business network. Am I interested in something like that? I don't know, but it's going to give me an invitation to look further. That's the whole purpose here. I want to look further. Is this somebody I want to look more into their profile and get a little deeper into this? Headline slugger tag. I don't know if a lot of you know this, but this has changed. Last year, LinkedIn went from 110 characters on your headline slugger tag to 220 characters. It allows you not only to drop in keywords, it allows you to add a benefit statement. Well, round up 249 of 220. So this needs a little beefing up. Title only? I don't want. You got other things that you can put into that headline or tag, so that, again, it entices people to look at your profile a little bit deeper. Why is your headline so important? Why is it important? It gives you the opportunity to make a good first impression. And again, it's an invitation to look forward. Bob McIntosh, who's a leading proponent on LinkedIn for people finding jobs, excellent resource. If people want information about finding jobs, took a poll last year. 46% of the people he polled in his following said the headline, even though he spelled it incorrectly, was the most important aspect of a LinkedIn profile. And I agree with him. And you got to understand that when you're appearing in a people you know, which is right next to your profile, if somebody drops in your profile, only the first 65 characters appear in that profile of the 220. So what do we want? Do we want just a title in that profile? Do we want keywords in that profile? Do we want a benefit statement? So the first 65 or 70 characters, again, depending on how many I's that you use in this, are going to appear. You've got to look at that as a very, very important opening statement. It's like your 60-second elevator speech. It's like, you know, it's your networking intro. It's very, very important if you want to get people to come in and take a closer look at your profile. One of the other things I look at is number of connections and privacy. Well, I'm going to applaud Rhonda. She's got 500 connections here. Does anybody have any idea what those connections appearing in blue mean?
That they're public.
They're public, which means, thank you, which means anybody who connects with you can now look at your connections, Rhonda. And the question becomes, do you want them to do that or don't you want them to do that? Do you want your competitors, if they're connecting to you, and I connect with all my competitors because I learn from competitors and I want to know what they're doing. And you know what the irony of this is? I just got invited by a competitor to join his mastermind group of LinkedIn experts, which blew my mind. And how did he find me? He found me on a search, and he's not afraid, and he welcomes the fact that we complement each other in our areas of expertise. And I'm going to be joining his mastermind group on Thursday, which is also going to lead me to assignments within his network, because he's not in the United States and he has other people that he wants to refer me to, again, because of our areas of expertise are somewhat different. So these bring up opportunities. But in my case, I don't have my connections open to my competitors. I also look for contact information. This is Rhonda's contact information. If Rhonda was networking or a client of mine, I would ask her, why don't you have a phone number? Don't you want people to be able to get in touch with you? Why don't you have links to your website pages? Are you even aware that you can do this on your profile? Other places I look for, experience. I want to know something about somebody's background. Are you taking the time to build out your profiles? I'm looking at recommendations, none for Rhonda, but she may not be in a networking mode on LinkedIn. But if somebody is in a networking mode on LinkedIn, I think recommendations are very, very important. If you go to my LinkedIn profile, I got 56 or 58 recommendations. I've even stopped asking for recommendations on LinkedIn, because anything that I do, I've got at least 6 or 8 people who are going to recommend me for it. And I can introduce you to LinkedIn and you could talk to those people and validate, and they're real people. That's why I think recommendations are so important. Why do I look at these sections for clients? I'll let you read over these. I'm not gonna just talk about them. You know, visuals, everything filled out. Are the right searchable fields completed? Are you offering proof statements? Why do I look at these for you? If you're a client, can you be found? Is your profile appealing? Have you told me that you can solve my problem? Are you offering proof? Why do I look at these sections of targets? Is that person a potential target? Do I want to accept a connection from that person? So how do you connect? Well, hold on, let me sec. Rhonda, any questions out there?
Yes, I'm
Michelle?
so glad you paused because we do have a good number of questions. So
Okay, go ahead. And
I'm start with the most recent one, and I think you're going to maybe get to this, but why would you want to hide your connections? Because I thought the whole point of LinkedIn is to grow your business, but to also connect with others. Um, you know,
Right, right. But I said I also connect with competitors. And I'm not going to let my competitors look at my connections to give them an open door to recruiting them out of away from me. Right. One of the first people that I worked with on LinkedIn actually knew more about LinkedIn than I did. And he was working with Sales Navigator, and he's probably one of the top 4 or 5 people that I dealt with that really knew how to work LinkedIn. He actually would go into his boss's profile, look up contacts that his boss had made, and actually converted them to his clients when his boss completely overlooked asking those connections to become clients of the firm that they were dealing with. It blew my mind. And he showed me how he did it. And what we did was we opened up our connections for each other on a Saturday afternoon. We both went through our connections and picked out about 5 or 10 people that we wanted to get introduced to, closed our connections. He introduced me to those people and I introduced him to the other people. So I want to keep my competitors from seeing who's in my connections. That's the primary reason.
Michael, is that an all or nothing setting? So like you
Yes,
can't kind of okay.
yes, yes.
Okay.
But you can toggle your connections on and off if you wish. As I just said, with this particular connection of mine, one Saturday afternoon, we were both able to toggle off and then toggle back on. It's in your privacy settings.
Yep. Okay, so how as a small business do you figure out what keywords you should be looking for? And when you're talking about keywords, are you referring to hashtags or actual keywords? Because those are two different things.
Hashtags are probably identical to keywords. And that gets into research, and I can't delve into it. That's a whole other topic unto itself, as far as determining what your keywords are and determining what your competitors' keywords. That's a presentation unto itself.
And then there was another one. Who within my organization should I be putting or assigning the task of LinkedIn to find customers? You know, and is this a paid position usually? Because I feel like LinkedIn could be a full-time job.
LinkedIn could be a full-time job, but the question becomes whether you're going to do it aggressively or you're going to do it passively. And what I find is you've got to dedicate some time and you've got to develop tactics and strategies, which I'm going to delve on a little bit. But it's personal. And again, when you're trying to do this on mass and try to shotgun, it's another topic unto itself.
Okay, that catches us up. Thank you.
All right. So connecting and finding targets. Make new connections. Add your clients. Add your coworkers. Add your suppliers. Add your members of social and religious groups. Add your members, your fraternity brothers and sorority sisters. One of the biggest hangups I see, or biggest shortcomings I see, is add it to your email address, email signature. Invite people everywhere you go. Again, you've got to go back on the principle. It's not who you know, it's who your connections know that count on LinkedIn. Look at your own network. LinkedIn makes suggestions based on algorithms as to who you should connect with. Alumni, the easiest people in the world to connect with. You went to the same school. All right. The way you find your alumni is you either click on your profile highlight box or you go scroll down to education and click on that. If you haven't added them to education, they're not going to appear on your profile highlight box. All right. This takes me to my alma mater, which takes me to a link to alumni, which takes me to 58,000 alumni ranging from 1900 to 2021. Well, I don't think people from 1900 are still on LinkedIn, but if I go a little further than that, I can search alumni by keyword again, and I can search by year. There are ways to find potential future targets. Join relevant groups. Here's a way to find competition or potential targets among connections. All right, I went back to Rhonda's profile. She's got 500 plus connections. Now, that's an artificial number because the plus sign doesn't tell me how many connections she really has. But if I click on that, I find she's actually got 533 connections. Okay, but I want to add what we call filters. Filters allow me to drill down in those connections. And the best example of filters is if you've ever shopped on Yelp, Yelp gives you certain filters that you can do automatically. LinkedIn does the same thing. And they also have the ability to use keywords in a Boolean search on LinkedIn, which a lot of people, again, are not aware of. I'm not going to get deep into Boolean, but on LinkedIn, LinkedIn only allows 5 Boolean parameters on their search functions. That is exact matches, complex searches, not, which excludes people, and which includes people, and or which allows for other people. All right, let's go back to Rhonda's profile. She's got 533 results. If I use a filter, I only want to look at who's in the United States. She's got 513 results. If I want to look at another filter, Greater Chicago area, she's got 207 results. If I want to dig down deeper into filters, I'm going to go into industry, professional training and coaching. Why? I'm a coach. These people I can relate to. I dig deeper in and I find the title keywords place where I write a Boolean search because I'm not interested in, I am interested in certain people. I'm interested in decision makers. So I will put those words that they use in their title, that those decision makers that I want to connect with. I'm looking for presidents. I'm looking for vice presidents. I'm looking for principal. I'm looking for founder. I'm looking for director. I should have put in owner, but I could put in almost an unlimited list. And by using or, what I'm saying is I want the president or the vice president or a principal or a vice principal or a founder or a director. I could have put in the word co as a co-director to filter down who my target is that I'm looking at. This is the essence of LinkedIn and target marketing, because now I've come down to 6 results in Rhonda's profile. And if Rhonda is a good source of recommendations, Rhonda knows what I'm doing and will put in a good word for me, I can look at John as a potential client. And I can go take a look at John's profile, and I could see that I'm not only connected to John through Rhonda, I'm also connected through John with 18 other people on LinkedIn. And guess what? After I look at John's profile, I decide he's a target. So what do? I send him an invitation to connect. But I also have to add a note. Why am I connecting? One of the easiest things to do is, hi, John, I see we're both connected to Rhonda. I think it might be a good idea for us to connect. Will you please connect with me on LinkedIn? And then I take it from there. Any questions about that? All right.
Good.
How do we start a conversation? That's a topic of a personal discussion because one size does not fit all. It depends on what your plan is and what action steps you're willing to take. I talked to somebody, I said, are you willing to write? No, I don't write well. Are you willing to pick up a phone and call somebody? Yes, I will do that. Are you willing to send them an email? Yes, I will do that. I said, we've got an action plan here. Let's put it together. Because it depends on what your strategies and tactics are, which depends on what your strengths and weaknesses are. I can take and send a message to Rhonda, and I can send her images. I can send her attachments. I could share with her. I can send her a GIF. I can send her an icon. I can actually record a video and send it to Rhonda. I can give her a kudo to start a conversation. What's a kudo? Hey, thanks, Rhonda, for inviting me to discuss LinkedIn on this particular networking platform. And then guess what? Rhonda's connections are going to see this. I can give her a recommendation. If you ever want to start a conversation with somebody, give them an unsolicited recommendation and see what happens to your email or your telephone. You will get almost an instantaneous response depending on how fast they're monitoring LinkedIn. You can send messages to group members. LinkedIn fortunately lifted the 15 limit amount on messages to people in groups last year to an unlimited amount. This was something they did years ago. They took it away and now they've given it back to us. You can send notices on how to get involved with people on LinkedIn. Comment on a discussion group. Feature your best work. What this does is it entices people to download something that you put up as your best work, a feature item. I've got my 10+ checklist for LinkedIn profiles right on my profile. Anybody can download it if they want to and take advantage of it. It's one of my ways to share, but it's also one of my, hey, you want to take this personally? You want to go a little bit further with that? Let's chat. You can add a post or an article. You could share others' activities. You could mention others so it appears on their timeline by using the @ sign. You could also use hashtags, because if people are following hashtags on LinkedIn and your post may come up as they're following hashtags. You can comment on a post or an article. They've added favicons or these icons to them just recently. Your story, if you're the type of person that's very active on your smartphones, they recently added something called Your Story. It could be added on an iPhone or an Android. It's a temporary post. It's a what's happening today. It's what am I involved with? Where am I stopping? Am I checking in somewhere? What have I learned? You can actually record a video up to 20 seconds and upload it directly from your phone, and it's live for 24 hours. It's just another way to connect with your connections. Before you do anything on LinkedIn, if you take any of this advice, if you do anything to enhance your marketing capability or to grow your business on LinkedIn, I suggest that you establish a benchmark. Benchmarks means where are you at today versus if you implement any of this, where are you going to be in a week or two? LinkedIn, and I still find that a lot of people are not aware of this, have what's called a social selling index. And that social selling index by algorithm scores you in what they consider to be 4 important categories. And they give you rankings. I'm not concerned that I only scored a 75 out of 100 here. What I am concerned about is I'm in the top 4% within my own network as far as my social selling index is concerned, because I've got a lot of LinkedIn experts and a lot of high profile people that use Sales Navigator, which I have used in the past, but I'm not using now. If I rank in that top 4%, I am extremely happy about that, because that says I'm competing against these people and doing quite well. I don't care that I'm 1% in my industry. That's an accolade, but I don't really care about that. I care about the network. That link is on the pass out, just so you know, to get to that social selling index. So these are the 8 topics that I talked about. I want to thank you. I've got to ask if there's any questions, because I've got a bonus here if there aren't any questions, because we got 5 or 6 minutes left. So are there any other questions?
Yeah, we do have a couple questions. I am a sales rep for my company. Do you suggest I pay for the different paid memberships to LinkedIn?
Absolutely not. Not until you've done everything that I've just covered and look at my top 10, because you may not need to do that. You just may not need to do it. It depends on how organized you are and how these search tools bring up targets. Sales Navigator is really at the next level, where unless you want people to communicate directly with you on LinkedIn, because Sales Navigator allows them to message you and not pay $10 for a message, then I don't see a need for it. And I have never moved people that I've consulted with into Sales Navigator. It's been more of the reverse. I've moved them out of Sales Navigator. It's only for a handful of people that are really looking at high target clients and willing to invest a lot of research work.
Great. Yeah, that was actually the next question, was why are you not paying for Sales Navigator? So I think
It's time intensive. Okay. I just dealt with somebody who's trying to deal, who's got 2 very successful businesses and trying to grow a mastermind group where he's charging people $1,000 to $2,000 a month to join his mastermind group. We went through LinkedIn. I built up his LinkedIn profile. It took me about 8 hours of consulting and drafting and refining, re-editing some of the stuff that he drafted. And he's not on Sales Navigator. And he wanted to go on Sales Navigator. And I showed him through the basic plan how in his network, he had over 6,000 targets alone. If he wanted to drill, he couldn't drill down any further in Sales Navigator than he could in the regular LinkedIn search tools. I said, I don't see a need for it. And he's working on those 6,000 contacts right now.
I think that wraps up the questions.
Okay.
Yeah, quick question. When do you think is a good time to buy LinkedIn premium? Let's say, I'm personally always active on, LinkedIn with video content, articles, things like that, commenting. When do you think is a good time to, buy LinkedIn, the premium account? And do you think that there's any value in getting it versus just having the free account and kind of, doing just kind of the free account? Like, what's kind of the value in the premium, and do you think it's necessary?
Well, that's what we were just talking about, which is Sales Navigator. Okay. And I've had Sales Navigator. When I was a volunteer for LinkedIn, and LinkedIn chose me as one of 10 English-speaking people to do a pilot program for them. I'm talking about people from the United States, England, Australia, and New Zealand. And I was 1 out of 10, and they recruited me. And one of the perks they gave me was Sales Navigator, because they weren't going to pay us. And I used it for a year, and I didn't see, even for me, much advantage out of it. And again, I've only seen 4 or 5 people that have used it to what it needs, to what it wants. And they're the people that are going after, they're the elephant hunters. They're the people that are going after high value clientele. They're the executive recruiters. Okay. They're not what an average, to me, salesperson needs on LinkedIn. And I got to bank on 30 years of experience in sales and marketing. So unless I know what your specific needs and what you're doing and whether you're optimizing what you're doing right now is beneficial to you before I can give you that advice. So I can't give you a generalized statement on that.
I didn't realize that the premium is the same thing as Sales Navigator. I didn't.
There's
even know that.
levels. There's levels of it. I call it all Sales Navigator. There's 2 or 3 levels of it because even the executive recruiter that I deal with isn't using the premium level. He's using the primary level.
Interesting.
Well, I want to thank our speaker, Michael, and I also want to thank everyone who attended this morning's Oakbrook Business Network event. If you are interested in our group, please visit oakbrookbiz.net to apply or to learn more. Thank you again, and everyone have a wonderful day.